It happened. Of course, I'm not happy about it, and it is what it is. I can't change it, and I could scream the place down and do whatever, but it's not going to change what happened. All I can make sure is that will never.
Chaos erupts. Daniel Dubois has just attacked Moses Itauma at the airport in a desperate attempt to avoid signing their fight contract. But insiders say this wasn't courage, it was sheer panic. The fallout: Moses was rushed to hospital after Dubois' cowardly—
Pissed off as well, but shit happens and it's one of them things.
Suspicious, talking about the Usyk fight already. Do you have a response to Team Parker, Daniel?
Yeah, that was none of my plans. My plan was to go out there and stop his fight at Parker, go through him. So, there was no plan behind this. This just happened, and if he wants the proof and everything, go and ask the border control doctor that came and saw me. But everyone talking, I just want to silence all of that, but I'm just ready to go now.
That's only the beginning. Carl Froch nailed it. Boxing is war, not play. And Dubois proved that outside the ring, ambushing Moses like a coward. The bitter irony: Moses wasn't even in fight mode, yet still ended up hospitalized after Dubois' reckless airport clash.
You're not in party mode, you're in fight mode. You're in, I could be walking to a certain death mode here. This is the hurt game. This is a dangerous, hard sport where people get seriously injured in there. And when you're fighting, you want to be in the mode of fight mode. Let's go, I'm going to battle, I'm going to war, I'm a fucking warrior. I'm going in there to do some damage and potentially getting some damage.
Dubois calls it confidence, but fans call it desperation. He talks about being back and ready to fight anyone. Yet at the airport, he couldn't even face Moses without resorting to a sneak attack. That wasn't the comeback of a warrior, it was a meltdown, and it ended with Moses in the hospital.
Back out there and show the people that, I am the man, I'm ready to go.
And the excuses? They only got stranger. Dominic Ingle tried to dress it up as Viking spirit, but let's be real, Vikings didn't blindside rivals at airports. Dubois' so-called do-or-die moment collapsed into do-or-dodge, and all he really proved is that Moses was the victim of his meltdown.
I think the only people who used to party before battle with the Vikings were, and used to get pissed up and dull the senses and then go and have a fight. But they win a proper die if they, if they went into battle. It would do or die situation. So maybe it's the same mentality.
The fallout was impossible to ignore. Dubois tried to spin it, claiming Moses refused him, but the truth was plain. He ambushed him before a contract was even signed. That reckless attack didn't scream hunger, it screamed fear. And in the end, it was Moses who paid the price. Rushed to hospital after Dubois' cowardly—
Daniel, you're in the office for a meeting. Is there some fight news coming soon?
Yeah, big news announcing soon, so, I'll let these guys talk about it, but I'm gonna be well up.
Fans weren't buying the excuses. Dave Coldwell's reaction said it all. Dubois crossed the line. This wasn't fight hype, it was assault. Instead of proving himself in the ring, Dubois chose a cheap shot that left Moses hospitalized and fans questioning his mentality.
It was a great presser, back and forth, poking each other, but not too far. But once you get physical and you touch a man's face,
then came more voices calling it out. Coldwell confirmed it. Dubois went too far. Trash talk is one thing, but laying hands outside the ring is another. That's why Moses is in hospital, and Dubois is drowning in criticism instead of respect.
I'm not surprised.
Does that cross the lane, do you think?
Yeah, it does. Listen, the presser was good. It was a great presser, back and forth, poking each other, but not too far. But once you get physical and you touch a man's face.
Tony Bello didn't mince his words, and he's right. Dubois' reckless slap could have caused permanent damage. This wasn't a shove at a press conference. This was a strike that risked Moses' eyesight. A 20-year-old fighter rushed to hospital, not because of a fight, but because Dubois couldn't wait for the ring. That's not hype, that's endangering a young career before it's even started. And if this was Dubois' idea of intimidation, it backfired badly because fans see it clearly: fear.
Slap in the face towards the eye.
In the ear as well.
People have to realise that I've got 2 scratched eyeballs, and the eyeball's the part of the body, it never heals. Yeah. So the best way to explain it is it would be like varnishing a door. and the varnish comes off, and then you've got to re-put the varnish back on.
Yeah, nice.
The liquid on the eye comes off in the cornea.
While Billow hit hard with his words, Adam Smith put it into perspective. Smith summed up the irony. Boxing thrives on chaos, but Dubois crossed a line no one condones. Attacking your opponent in an airport isn't warrior spirit, it's desperation. Yet here's the twist. Controversy sells. Moses being rushed to hospital has only blown this fight up, turning it into a grudge match the public can't look away from. Dubois thinks he gained the psychological edge, but all he really did was expose himself. The world saw it. He couldn't face Moses in the ring, so he lashed out in panic. Now the headlines aren't about training camps or strategy, they're about hospitals and meltdowns. The fight's bigger than ever.
That happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just made it even bigger, and we wait to see what happens.
Mackenzie kept it simple. This was completely out of order. Heavyweights are known for tempers and explosions, but there's always a line between passion and outright stupidity. Dubois didn't just cross it. He bulldozed through it. By ambushing Moses at the airport, he turned fight hype into a hospital trip. Moses Itauma is only 20, and instead of preparing for the biggest fight of his young career, he's recovering from a pointless assault. Mackenzie has lived through the hurt business, but even he admits this wasn't boxing, it was bullying. And when respected veterans call you out this hard, it means one thing: you didn't just lose your cool.
He wouldn't do it, really. No. He doesn't need to do it.
No, I think that was all him.
Of course it was. What was amazing about it, right, is his sleight of hand, because when they stood next to each other, or in front of each other on the stage, he's empty-handed. So I'm looking at it like from a magician's perspective, thinking, where's the head come from?
Yeah.
But
Then Eddie Hearn gave his take. He couldn't believe the chaos. Hearn said it sounded like a glass smashing. That's how wild the clash got. In today's world, moments like this go viral, and Dubois' airport meltdown is everywhere. But the truth is, it's no laughing matter when a 20-year-old like Moses ends up rushed to hospital. This was meant to be the build-up to a career-defining fight, not a drunken pub brawl. Eddie nailed it. Everything changes now. This isn't just Dubois versus Itauma anymore. It's discipline versus desperation. And history shows when a fighter loses control outside the ring, that same weakness always shows.
Smashed, and the noise it made, that's where I was sort of like, bits were flying everywhere, you know. And like, listen, I think the world we live in today, it will go viral, people will think it's quite amusing, but I'll just tell you one thing: in the fight game, everything changes now about this fight. Like, you don't want to be backstage.
Khan's advice hits the nail on the head. Don't rush Moses. At just 20, he's got years to grow, but WE's airport ambush has shoved him into the spotlight far too early. Instead of steady progress, Moses is juggling hospital trips and headlines for all the wrong reasons. Khan knows the dangers of being thrown in too young, and his warning is clear, but WE didn't care. His panic move forced the pace. What should have been a patient climb has turned into a chaotic sprint, and that's exactly the kind of distraction WE wants.
You don't want to rush him. You want to take it easy. You want to take it slow. Don't rush him. Let him enjoy. He's still 20 years old. Let him get to 22, 23 years old, and that's then you start putting him in with the top names in boxing, like the Usyks and like the Wilders or even the Joshuas and the Furies. At the moment, I think you should keep on building him.
Still, Dubois kept talking about Moses being next on his hit list. The irony is glaring. He's busy bragging about next steps and two-time champion dreams, while Moses is stuck in a hospital bed from his airport ambush. If Dubois truly wanted to prove himself as a future champion, he'd do it in the ring, not in a terminal. His words drip with ambition, but his actions reek of insecurity. Belts, Usyk, heavyweight glory, none of it means anything when your biggest headline is a cheap scuffle that left your rival injured. Fans aren't seeing a fearless warrior, they're seeing a man panicking at the thought of being exposed. Dubois hasn't climbed closer to titles, he's dragged his reputation through the mud, and now, even while recovering,
direction we're gonna go in for this next step.
Who is next? Is Moses Itauma on the horizon?
All the guys in the heavyweight division, yeah, they're all the guy, especially the one who has the belts. And you know, if the belts fragment or whatever, stuff like that can happen. Whatever way I can become two-time heavyweight champion, that's where I'm going.
Smartest observation of the night: at just 20 years old, Moses shouldn't be rushed into a dangerous test against Dubois or anyone else too soon. But thanks to Dubois' reckless airport ambush, Moses is already juggling hospital visits instead of steady career development. Hearn understands the fight game better than most. Timing isn't just important, it's everything. Push a young fighter too fast and you risk breaking them before they ever reach their prime. That's why his concern carried the tone of a warning. Dubois might not be worth the gamble right now. Moses needs patience, growth, and focus, not chaos and headlines about hospital trips. And yet here we are, with a teenager's rise hijacked by Dubois' meltdown. It's proof that one reckless act has dragged this rivalry into dangerous territory, far beyond the natural rhythm of boxing.
Or he might knock him out. I don't know. But personally, at 20, you know, you got to get it right. And Frank, like I said, Frank knows what he's doing. And I think I'd be very surprised if they took that kind of test.